Howdy my totally always Tubular gamers, and we're back with, you guessed it, another video. Thanks for coming back to the channel. Now 2023, we've talked a lot of good stuff about it already, one of the best years ever in gaming, and so for today I thought I would talk about the best Switch games of 2023. I played a lot of Switch games this year, but what were the best games I played this year on the Switch? Well, that's what this video is going to go over. This is not a ranking, this list is not in any particular order, it's just some of the games I played on the Switch that I really wanted to talk about. I am also but one man. I did not play every game that released on the Switch in 2023, so let me know down below what some of your favorite Switch games you played this year, or a game maybe I'm missing, or why you think my opinion's trash, etc, etc. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. We got the Patreon and the super thanks going on. Any support is greatly, and I truly do mean greatly, appreciated. And so for once, not a long ass intro, let's just get right into it. What were some of my favorite games? What do I think were the best games on the Switch in 2023? To start things off here, we're going to start with one of the more obvious ones, Super Mario Wonder, which came out back in October. Now, I've talked about this game a few times, it's well documented, but Super Mario Wonder very well may be the best 2D Mario game of them all, and that really is saying something. You know, there's been a lot of really amazing 2D Mario games, especially back in the 90s, and this game really feels like a return to form for 2D Mario. Not that New Super was ever bad, nothing even close to that, it's just I would gladly take Super Mario Wonder over any of the New Super games, literally any day. This game just has a lot more going for it, whether it's the superb controls, the fantastic presentation, the excellent level design, just how creative and original every single level is, to really just how fun these levels are. Super Mario Wonder is a must play for people who like 2D platformers, Mario, or maybe if you're looking to play through a game with your sibling, your partner, your kid, your dog, your goldfish, really anyone but your imaginary friend. I don't think they'll be very good at it, but seriously, Super Mario Wonder is just a fantastic 2D platformer. Some of these levels are some of the most creative levels you will find in any 2D Mario game. And it's crazy just how different they all feel from each other. You know, plenty of Mario games have similar enough levels, but all of the levels here genuinely do feel different from each other, especially thanks to the seeds, where they make things just go crazy. And visually, I've never seen a game that looks like this. It's so pretty. The backgrounds look so good. I love the animation, and playing through this game, it was just an absolute joy. From the moment it begins to the moment it ends, I have nothing but a ton of love for Super Mario Wonder. It's just an excellent platformer that I have no problem giving my highest recommendation to. Now our next game might be a little bit of a surprise. You might not remember this game even came out. Here we have Detective Pikachu Returns, which came out a couple months ago, and I recently played through it and I actually quite enjoyed my time with it. You know, I remember the Detective Pikachu 3DS game. I thought it was one of the better Pokemon spin-offs, and I very much remember the movie. I love the movie. That's one of my favorite video game movies ever, and so when I saw they were making another one, I was like, oh, that's cool, I'll check it out. And yeah, after playing all the way through it, this is a pretty decent little detective game. I'll immediately admit though, you know, if you didn't like the 3DS game, you're not gonna like this game, as it plays virtually identical. It's just now on the Switch. In fact, I would say quality wise it's neck and neck with the 3DS game, which might be bad to some that they didn't really improve much here, but I still enjoyed what this game had to offer. It tells a decent little story about Tim Goodman still looking for his dad and teaming up with Pikachu, the greatest detective ever who loves his coffee. Grown. And you know, for what it was, the story I think was decent enough, the writing is fine, and it's cool to see all the Pokemon interact with you in a different way than just battling. And I generally enjoyed the lighthearted plot. When it comes to the gameplay, it is some pretty basic detective work. I'm not going to say that this game gets anywhere near as complex as various other detective games such as Ghost Trick or LA Noire or even some of the Danganronpa games. The detective work is incredibly basic and the deductions are really easy to make, and I'm sure I'm in the wrong demographic here or target audience, but I enjoyed the basic detective work. It was a nice chill game that I could play for a few hours at a time and just get a fun little Pokemon story told to me that reminds me of when I was a kid and used to watch those Pokemon specials on Cartoon Network. Is it going to win any awards? Is it one of the best Pokemon games on the Switch? Is it one of the best Pokemon spin-offs? No, but I still think it was alright. And our next game is Pikmin 4. Now, Pikmin 4 has gotten a lot of positive reception, commercially and critically, but part of me still feels like not enough people are talking about this game, especially now, and that's a real shame. Of all the Switch games I played in 2023, Pikmin 4 very well might be my favorite game of them all. Like, I love the older Pikmin games. I've played through them dozens of times, and so this game, it really was just a dream come true, especially after the, I'm not going to say disappointing or lackluster, but just not as good Pikmin 3. This game is a huge improvement over Pikmin 3, and anybody who's ever had even any mild interest in the series, this is just a must-play, go buy immediately. Seriously, it's that good, with a really interesting, different story about you having to go rescue some space cadets, but obviously there's a lot more to it than that, and I was just fully immersed in this game. Like, the game has just a fantastic atmosphere and setting. Like, Pikmin has always had just this really unique, interesting setting, and Pikmin 4 feels like they really brought that into the modern era, more so than Pikmin 3 ever did. I love this game's vibe and setting, and then graphically, it is so good. It is maybe the best looking game on the Nintendo Switch. Like, it looks really good, it's super smooth, and I never had any issues presentation wise with this game at all. And then the game controls super nice with different control schemes. It has a bunch of quality of life improvements on the Pikmin formula, and it really feels like they just took the best aspects of Pikmin and really just beefed it up, like really beefed it up to be one of the biggest adventures I went on in 2023. I 100%ed this game. I rarely 100% any games, especially with how many I play, but this game I knew I had to 100%, and it took me over 50 hours. Like, this is a massive game. That's like the size of Pikmin 1, 2, and 3 combined and then some. Seriously, this is just a massive game with a ton of treasure to get. Dungeons to see, areas to explore, there's multiplayer and missions as well. There's a bunch of fan service here if you've been a longtime fan of Pikmin. There's some new stuff in there I also enjoyed. Like, this game, it just has it all. It's great for people who've never played a Pikmin game, and it's even better for people who've played all the Pikmin games. I know some people might be a little turned off or weirded out that it is technically a real-time strategy game, but trust me, there are no real-time strategy games that are like Pikmin. The closest is like Overlord, and that's low-key nothing like it. This game, it just gets my highest recommendation. It really is a must play. Now, this next game is a remake, but I'm still including it, and that's the Super Mario RPG remake. I haven't gotten to talk about this game yet, and I just want to say that this is one of my favorite games all year. I mean, I knew it was going to be one of my favorite games all year just immediately from the moment it was announced, because I love Super Mario RPG. It's maybe my favorite Super Nintendo game. It might be my favorite Mario RPG, and then when I saw that this game was getting a remake, I was just like, oh my god, it's actually happening, holy shit, and it looks so good. And I'm gonna just immediately say the presentation, the graphics are beautiful. I love how this game's been recreated. They really capture the art style of the original game and bring it into the modern era. Like, it looks so good. These environments look great, the models are great. I love how the art style really has been preserved. I love how Mario and everyone looks. It looks so unique from any other Mario game. The presentation, they nailed it. And then the music, oh, they nailed that as well. The music has been lovingly recreated. I love the music of this remake. It is so good. The original is gold. This is even shinier gold. It's so good. And the gameplay, it is the classic Mario RPG gameplay, but it's even better. It's smoother, it's faster. There's a couple quality of life improvements. I love the battles in this game. Like, there are so many great battles and so many set pieces here, and they've just all been lovingly recreated. And I'd say the battles are even better than they were in the original game, and I loved exploring the overworld and getting into just weird little shenanigans, and there's even some platforming here because it's a Mario game. This is one of the rare remakes where I can say that this remake is just so unbelievably good as a remake that it actually makes the original game obsolete. Like, unless you really want to see the old graphic, there is no reason to go back to the original game. You can even have the original music here. Like, this is the definitive best way to play the game, and if you have not tried this game and you like RPGs or Mario, this is a must play. Like, Mario RPGs don't really get any better than this. Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door is really the only one that can match it, and that's also getting a remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it. So looks like if you're on the Switch and you like Mario RPGs, stay winning, because trust me, you'll definitely be winning with just how good Mario RPG is. And here we have another game you might have forgot even released this year. Here we have Samba de Amigo Party Central. Yes, the Maraca rhythm game that looks like it belongs on the Wii. Now, I love the original Samba de Amigo. I know for some reason a couple people think I never played them, but I really do love the original Samba de Amigo games. And this game, man, it's like they took those original games and just put them on crack. Like, this game has way more content, way more going on than those old games ever did, to be one of the best rhythm games legit I've like ever played. If you're unfamiliar with the gameplay, really it involves you shaking or moving the Joy-Cons in a certain direction and just kind of going nuts. Like, when I first played this game, I forgot just how nuts Samba gets and how much of a jackass I look like, especially on the harder difficulties. And there's plenty of songs to play through. The game even has like a challenge mode that can get really, and I mean really difficult, like where you can't miss like any notes. Like, it gets that hard. And when it comes to the song list, the track selection they have in this game actually slaps. It's actually really good. Like, I figured, you know, it'd probably be a little better than maybe the Wii game, but no, this is way better than what the old games had. They've got a bunch of the classic music from the older games, but there's a bunch of new pop in here as well, stuff from the 2010s, some modern music, and then a bunch of other Sega music shows up in here. Sonic shows up plenty of times. Like, it's really great. I actually think the track selection makes this game as good as it is. Well, I was just popping off going, wow, that's pretty awesome. The track selection, it really isn't messing around. What isn't messing around in this game either is the online options. You know, the original game, you could have like 2-player, but this game actually has more online options than I ever expected. It even goes up to 4 players. Like, that's pretty cool. All in all, this new Sammy De Amigo, it actually slaps. It's pretty crazy Sammy De Amigo came back after like 15 years. I mean, I guess it doesn't seem that crazy now that Crazy Taxi and Jet Set and Golden Axe are coming back, but it's still pretty cool that Samba was able to come back, and then his new game is actually really good. If we don't get another Samba game for the next 15 years, you know, at least we had a really great one here, and I have no problem recommending it to anyone who has even a mild interest in rhythm games. And here we have a very recent game. We have Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince, which actually just came out in the last week or two, and I've seen very, very little coverage on this game outside of the Dragon Quest subreddit, and that's a real shame. And I think it's a shame because this is one of the better RPGs I played and one of the most underrated games of the entire year. And while it might not have a number in its title, it very much is basically a mainline Dragon Quest game. It's parallel with Dragon Quest IV. You see plenty of the characters and locations from Dragon Quest IV. The Dark Prince himself is in DQ4. And the story's actually good. It's different from the other Dragon Quest games, and you have to be a monster tamer because your character's cursed and can't hurt any monsters. And then the gameplay really feels like they took the old Dragon Quest Monsters games, like the Game Boy games, and put them, you know, in a modern setting. And before you go, oh, this is just Pokemon, but with Dragon Quest monsters, I hate to break it to you, but monster catching in Dragon Quest actually does predate Pokemon, but that's irrelevant to this game. It's a really solid monster catching RPG where you'll explore around these big open areas and just get a bunch of Dragon Quest monsters to join your party and go fight other monsters or other monster tamers. There's actually a ton of monsters in this game. I did not expect anywhere near as many as we got. There's like 200 different monsters here. There's a bunch of unique ones, a bunch of new ones to Dragon Quest that I hope show up in Dragon Quest 12. Like, I really love the variety and selections you get here, and it felt like in every area I had a different monster because you just come across so many cool new ones that are really powerful. Something that is unique is when you're exploring the world, there's actually 4 different seasons that will change in real time, and different monsters show up during these seasons. Certain areas might become accessible that previously weren't, and it leads to just a lot of exploration and you trying to find all the monsters. Seriously, you'll want to find all the monsters because there's so many unique ones, and some of them are really good actually. And then the battle mechanics, it really is like a mainline Dragon Quest game. Very traditional, very turn-based. You can't directly control your monsters, but you can influence their attacks or general tactics to such a degree that you might as well be controlling exactly what they do. I enjoyed the battles. I thought they were good. I thought they were well paced. In fact, this game actually has a really solid pace to it, and I just love vibing in this world. It's really cool to see Dragon Quest IV's world recreated in, you know, a 3D environment. And while I'm talking about the environment and all that, I'll immediately bring up that, yeah, graphically, this game, it isn't great. You know, it's not as bad as some of the modern Pokemon games, but it isn't exactly a powerhouse, and the frame rate really shouldn't be as bad as it is. However, I wouldn't say the presentation is a deal breaker, and the game is far from unplayable. Yeah, at times the frame rate gets a little choppy, but it's really not the end of the world, and the game at least has a nice art style to it. It looks very similar to the PS2 game. It doesn't really look any better than Dragon Quest VIII on PS2, but at least it's pleasant to look at. It doesn't look just awful and ugly and like Crayola crayon. My point is the gameplay and story and characters really shine through to make this one of, if not the best Dragon Quest spin-off of them all. If you have any interest in RPGs or Dragon Quest, or maybe you played 11 and like that, this really is worth playing. It's really solid. And here we have another game I haven't gotten to talk about yet, and that's WarioWare Move It. Like a few other games I've talked about today, I really didn't see much hype or people just talking about this game. Maybe this game just came out at the wrong time near Spider-Man 2 and Alan Wake 2 and Mario Wonder and just all these big games, and it's a shame because I think WarioWare Move It is actually one of the better WarioWare games. You know, I've been a long-time fan of the WarioWare series. I loved the Game Boy Advance and DS games. Smooth Moves was great also. One day, I want to rank the WarioWare games, especially if people actually want to see me rank them, but this new WarioWare is the best WarioWare game in years. It's way better than Get It Together, which I thought was pretty middling actually, and while I'm sure there are plenty of people that won't like this game just because of how gimmicky it is and it reminds them of the Wii. I actually think that this is one of the most unique games to be released this year, and I think the gimmick actually makes the game way better. It has a really unique gimmick of moving the Joy-Cons in certain positions and moving around in really silly, funny ways. Like, you'll be moving around in a ton of different ways, acting like a chicken, making a bunch of funny movements, but seriously, you'll be moving all around and making a bunch of funny poses, and it's actually really interactive and creative. You'll also be getting a little bit of a workout. You know, maybe I'm just weak sauce. I mean, I'll be the first to admit I'm crazy out of shape. All my time goes to playing games and working on videos, so maybe it was just me, but this game was a little bit of a workout. I did get a sweat going, and I played through the whole game with my partner, and we had a blast just being goofy and enjoying how creative all of the micro games are, and just seeing how many different ways they could let you hold the Joy-Cons and how many goofy things you could be doing. And the micro games in this game are actually really solid. You know, when the gimmick works, when the movement and the motion controls work, it really works, and it's really awesome. And so I know the big question is, well, how often does it work?
If you do the thing and you do it right and you don't fuck it up, it works. It just works.
Well, I'd say it works around 90 to 95% of the time. When it doesn't work, it's pretty frustrating and annoying, and you'll just lose all the micro games since it's not working. But a vast majority of the time, it does work and it's fun. I think the micro games are some of the best micro games we've had in quite a long time. I love how this game looks. It reminds me of the older WarioWare games, and there is a decent amount of content here. The main story mode is really short, like 2 hours, but there's a bunch of replayability and some fun party modes to make it so there's a little bit more to this game. But I'm sure plenty of people played this game, beat it in like an hour and a half and went, that's it. But trust me, there is more to it than that. Do I think it's worth the current asking point? Maybe not, but I think if you're a fan of WarioWare, if you're looking for a kind of different, gimmicky, interactive game that is a fun throwback to the days of the Wii, then yeah, I think this game's actually pretty solid. While this game isn't the most deep or rewarding experience, it still is a fun little party game, and sometimes that's all you need at the end of the day. And our next game really needs no introduction. It's Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, plenty has been said about Tears of the Kingdom. I've even said plenty about it, so I'll just kind of quickly reiterate what I've said. I really enjoyed Breath of the Wild. I thought it was a fresh breath of air for Zelda, pun intended, and I really feel like the game would go on to influence dozens of other games, big games like Elden Ring, and so it clearly did something right. But Tears of the Kingdom really looks at Breath of the Wild and improves it in, it feels like, almost every aspect. The game is bigger, it's better. It's got a much larger world with more to see, more to do. It's got a way better story. Really, it has a story to begin with outside of a basic premise. The gameplay's better, the world feels less empty, there's more to do, there's a ton to see. Seriously, there is so much to see in this game. You can spend hundreds, no exaggeration, no hyperbole here, hundreds of hours in this world, and you'll still be finding new stuff. Whether you're exploring the regular land, the sky, or the depths, there is a ton to see here, a ton to do. The game is incredibly creative. It really just gives you the tools to do whatever you want. The game rarely ever says no to you, if ever. It just is like, yeah, go do whatever you want, tackle these challenges, objectives, however you want. We're going to give you a bunch of creative tools and abilities to just really create your own adventure, your own solutions to these problems. The abilities, I think, are actually a lot better than Breath of the Wild's outside of the bomb. Always going to miss you, my friend, the bomb. But I think the abilities are better, the puzzles are better, the shrines are better. I loved exploring this world. It looks great. Yeah, sometimes the frame rate can kind of crap out, but it really isn't a big deal. It really isn't. And then this game has some of the most epic moments you'll find in not just Zelda, any video game. Getting the Master Sword is crazy. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, there's a reason there's so much hype and love for Tears of the Kingdom. It's a fantastic game that anybody who likes Zelda or action adventure games should immediately check out. There's so much to this game. It really is a real adventure, and it's one of those games that absolutely gets my highest recommendation. Just a fantastic game all around. And for our last game, I'm just going to give it a quick shout out, Metroid Prime Remastered. You know, I don't really like to include remasters or re-releases on these lists, but this game gets a small exception because it is a fantastic remaster. You know, I love the original Metroid Prime. I haven't played a ton of this remaster, but from what I have played, oh yeah, it's the original game in all its glory. It looks even better than ever. It's one of the best looking Switch games, and if you've had any interest in the Metroid series, especially the Metroid Prime series, this really is the game to play. And I'm hoping that the other Metroid Primes can get a remastered version as well, and one day, maybe in our timeline, we will actually get Metroid Prime 4. But this remaster, oh, it's excellent. But that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down below how you felt about it, what you want to see me rank or talk about. What were some of the best Switch games you played in 2023? I'd love to hear it. I'm always lurking in the comments. If you made it to this part of the video, today's code word is going to be shark, as in what's in the water and wants to kill you, what my profile picture is. So yeah, that's a little code word you made it to the end of the video. Hope you all have a wonderful day, Christmas, whatever's the closest to you. See y'all later. Bye-bye now.